Shabbat Shalom. It's so wonderful to all be here together this evening. As you come in this evening to our Shabbat service, please take a moment and introduce yourselves in the chat. Maybe also share where you're zooming in from tonight as we gather as one community to bring in Shabbat together. Tonight we'll be using Sidur Kol HaNeshama, which if you have the book, I'll be calling out page numbers. And if you do not have the book, we can, I'm going to type into the chat the URL where you can access it as a PDF. And I want to thank the Thriving Communities Department of Reconstructing Judaism for making this Sidur, making this prayer book accessible to all of us during this time of COVID-19 when we're not gathering in our sanctuaries of our synagogues, but we are creating sacred space here in our homes. And so that link is http://tiny.cc/KN Shabbat. And here I'm putting it right here in the chat. Shabbat Shalom to John and to Jules and Ruth and Taco. And it's wonderful to be here tonight with Kim and Amy and Robert. And Oi from Shabbat Shalom to Shayna, who's joining us all the way from North Carolina. It's just so wonderful to be here in community together. And so we'll begin tonight as we light the Shabbat candles on page 5. And I have noticed that it is much easier to light the Shabbat candles when you have matches. I will be right back. It has been something like 12 or 13 weeks, and I'm excited that this is the first Shabbat that I have not had the matches with me. So we'll call that, we'll say that our beginner's luck has run out. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who makes us holy with your mitzvot and commands us to light the lights of Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu le'adlik ner shel Shabbat. Yada-da-nai, nai-nai, yada-da-nai, nai-nai, yada-da-nai, nai, nai-nai, yada-nai, yada-da-nai, nai-nai, yada-da-nai, nai-nai, yada-da-nai, yada-nai, 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 Page 7. Yedid nefesh avarahaman meshoch avdecha el retzonecha yarutz avdecha kemo ayal yishtachaveh el mul hadarecha teravlo yeditutecha minol fetzuf vechol tam Adonai ziv haolam nafshi cholat avatecha alna elna revana la berarot la noam zivecha az titchazek vetitrapeh v'hayta la simchat olam vatik yechemuna rachamecha v'chushana al ben achuvecha ki zakama nichsof nichsafti lirot v'tiferet uzach Chamdat libi chusana ve'al titalam higalena ufros chavivi alai at sukat shalom echatayr eretz michvodecha Nagila v'nismechava Ma'er ahuv kiva moed v'choneni ki me'olam Yadadanai 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 Page 25. Shiru Ladonai, Shir Hadash. Sing to Adonai a new song, the whole world. Sing to Adonai and God's holy name, day after day. In faith and trust, we sing. Shiru Ladonai, Shir Hadash. Shiru Ladonai, Kol Haaretz. Shiru Ladonai, Baruch Hu Shemo. Baseru miyom le'yom Yeshuato. Shiru Ladonai, Shir Chadash. Shiru Ladonai, Kol Haaretz. Shiru Ladonai, Baruch Hu Shemo. Baseru miyom le'yom Yeshuato. Baseru miyom le'yom Yeshuato. Lifnei Adonai kiva lishbot haaretz yishbot tevel b'tzedek ve'amim be'emunato. We'll turn together to page 37 as we rise for Psalm 29 in body or in spirit. Mizmor LeDavid. Mizmor LeDavid. Havu l'Adonai b'nei Elim. Havu l'Adonai. Kavod v'ozai. Havu l'Adonai kevod shemo. Shachavu l'Adonai v'hadrat kodesh. Kol Adonai al hamayim. El hakavod hirim. Adonai al mayim rabim. Kol Adonai b'koach. Kol Adonai behadar. Kol Adonai shover harazim. Vayishaber Adonai et arzei halvanon. Vayarkidem k'mo egel. Lebanon, Vesirion, Flekolo, Kemo vein re'emi, Mayai, Kol Adonai, Chotzev la'avotesh, Kol Adonai, Yachil midbar, Yachil Adonai, midbar kadesh, Kol Adonai, Cholel ayalot, Vayechesof, Yerot, Uvechalo, Kulo Omer Kavod, Adonai, Lama Abu Yashav, Yeshev Adonai, Melech Leolam, Adonai Oz Le'amo Yitein, Adonai Yevarech et Amo V'Shalom. Yai, 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 Shabbat Shalom, everyone. As we turn to page 41 for Lecha Dodi, we prepare to greet the Shabbat bride. We take a moment and we look up and down the chat. Maybe we look also in the room, across the room, maybe the dining room tables, maybe to the photographs on the walls that we're in, and do a little bit of Kabbalat Panim. As we prepare to welcome Shabbat, we also take a moment to welcome one another's faces, to see the faces or the round avatars or the photographs or maybe the physical selves of those who are gathered in your home with you today, and notice the community that is here gathered. We say Shabbat Shalom to everyone. For those who have joined since I said Shabbat Shalom to people by name, Shabbat Shalom to Beverly and Phil Sklover, my parents who are joining us tonight as they do most Friday nights from Washington, D.C. Shabbat Shalom, Shelly, and I don't know, is Guy home with you? Shabbat Shalom to Sharon and Steve, and John all the way from Georgia. Shayna, there's someone here further south than you today. Welcome, everyone, and Shabbat Shalom. It's wonderful to be here together. And as we've turned and greeted those who are here, and if I didn't say your name, oh, hi, Guy. Take a second to introduce yourself in the chat and share a little bit about where you're coming in from tonight, where you're joining us from, because one of the things that is so beautiful about this time that we've been gathering from our homes is that we have learned that our synagogue is so much bigger than just a building. Community is so much bigger than any geographical area can define. Community is intention to gather, intention to see one another, intention to reach out and be together, especially when it's not easy to do so. And so thank you for being community to me and to one another here tonight. Lecha Dodi, greeting the Shabbat bride on page 41. Lecha Dodi likrat kalai ananai 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 pnei Shabbat נקבלה לך דודי לקראת קלה ינני 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 פני שבת נקבלה שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד השמיענו אל המיוחד אדוני אחד ושמו אחד השם ולתפארת ולתחילה לך דודי לקראת קלה ינני 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 פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת קלה ינני 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 פני שבת נקבלה לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה כי מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נזוכה סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה לך דודי לקראת קלה ינני 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 פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת קלה ינני 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 פני שבת נקבלה top of page 45 התעוררי התעוררי כי בהורך קומי אורי 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 שיר דברי כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה לך דודי לקראת קלה ינני 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 פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת קלה ינני 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 פני שבת נקבלה top of page 47 ימין ושמאל תפרוצי ואת אדוני תעריצי אל ידיש פן פרצי ונשמחה ונגילה לך דודי לקראת קלה ינני 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 פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת קלה ינני 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 פני שבת Nekabela, we rise in body or in spirit as we face the entrance to our home and prepare to officially greet Shabbat. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam besimcha uvetzochola, ay toch emunei am segula. Boi chala, lecha dodi likrat kala, yananai, 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 pnei Shabbat, nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, yananai, 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 pnei Shabbat, nekabela. Yanai, 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 Page 49. Mizmor shir lehom hashabbat, tov leodot ladonai, ulezamer leshimcha elyon, ulezamer leshimcha elyon, lehagid baboker chastecha, ve'amunatecha balelot, alei asur ve'alei navel, alei higayon bechinor, mizmor shir lehom hashabbat, tov lehodot ladonai, ulezamer leshimcha elyon, ulezamer leshimcha elyon, ki semachthani Adonai b'foalecha, b'maaseh yadecha haranein, ma gadlu ma'asecha Adonai, me'od amku machshevotecha, mizmor shir lehom hashabbat, tov lehodot ladonai, ulezamer leshimcha elyon, ulezamer leshimcha elyon. Kabbalat Shabbat. psalms, poetry, liturgical piyutim, written mostly in the Middle Ages, give us an opportunity ahead of the Mariv service, the evening service, which begins on page 57 with the Baruch, to attune ourselves. Over the course of the week, we do so much. We work, we care for one another, we build for one another and prepare and make things for ourselves and for industry and for our community. But on Shabbat, everything changes. On Shabbat, we do this godly thing. And this godly thing is not creating. This godly thing is actually the opposite. This godly thing is resting. And so on Shabbat, we get to be in the image of God as divine self-care giver, right? For 6 days, we spend being in the image of God as caregivers, as creators, as workers, as makers. But for this 7th day, we emulate the divine by doing this work of self-care, this work of resting. And as we prepare to officially gather for our evening service on this night of Shabbat with Baruch, we have to get ourselves in tune. We have to recalibrate ourselves. We have this opportunity to raise our voices in song and make a difference, a differentiation between the way that we exist, B'Tselem Elohim, in the image of the divine as creator, and together recalibrate ourselves, retune ourselves to the key of self-care, the key of those 25 hours of holy rest, though the key of those jewels you don't have to get in tune. Don't worry, it's a spiritual resonance. Just ask Taco. He's always in tune. And so we recalibrate ourselves and get ourselves in harmony with one another, in harmony with the world around us, in harmony with our families, and most importantly, into harmony with ourselves and what we need these 25 hours of Shabbat to be for us. And so we take a deep breath. And as we exhale, we rise in spirit or in body as one community in harmony with one another. For Baruch, page 57. As we bless the source of life, so we are blessed. As we bless the source of life, so we are blessed. And the blessing gives us strength and makes our visions clear. And the blessing gives us peace and the courage to dare. As we bless the source of life, so we are blessed. Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach leolam vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, yotzer or uvorei choshech, oseh shalom, uvorei et hakol. Page 58, let's read together. Blessed are you, eternal one, our God, sovereign of all the worlds, by whose word the evenings fall. In wisdom you open heaven's gates, with divine discernment you make the seasons change, causing the times to come and go, and ordering the stars on their appointed paths through heaven's dome, all according to your will. creator of the day and night, who rolls back light before the dark and dark before the light, who makes day pass away and brings on the night, dividing between night and day. The leader of the throngs of heaven is your name, living and enduring one, rule over us now and always. Blessed are you, Almighty One, who makes the evenings fall. Baruch atah Adonai Hamari Varavim. Page 63. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amcha Ahavta Torah u'mitzvot chukim u'mishpatim otanu limadeta Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shochveinu v'kumenu nasiach b'chukecha v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נהגה יומם ולילה, יומם ולילה. ואהבתך לא תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני Ohev Amo Yisrael. Page 65, the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'avta et Adonai Elohecha, בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. We continue silently with one of the two biblical selections that follows. Adonai Elohechem Emet. On page 71, below the line, there's a reflection that riffs off of the way that the Shema appears when it's written in the Sefer Torah, in the Torah scroll. Because the words of the Shema, the first letter and the final letter, the first letter, the first word of the Shema, the first word of the Shema ends with an oversized ayin, and echad, the final word, ends with an oversized dalid when it's written in the scroll. And I wanted to offer this reflection as a connection between the Shema and Ve'ahavta and the blessing that follows, Mi Chamocha. When we recite Mi Chamocha, we are hearkened back as if like pulled by some sort of like either, into a time machine or pulled back by some sort of tether that pulls us back in time to the moment that our mythic ancestors supposedly orally came up with these words as they stood on the shores of the Sea of Reeds after having crossed from slavery in Egypt into at least the potential for freedom in the wilderness. And they pass from this place, Egypt, which in Hebrew is Mitzrayim, which means narrow places, into the midbar, into the wilderness, which I don't know about you, but to me, the word wilderness sounds just about as wide and vast, the opposite of narrow, as you can get. Why am I mentioning this? And what does this have to do with this piece that I'm going to share from page 71? This week, for many people, is a really interesting one. This week for many in our area is either the last week of summer vacation for children or the first week when they're going back to school in whatever form that takes in their particular school district or their particular school. A time of great transition across a different kind of sea. And for many others, whether you're teachers, professors, whether you're going back to work in an office for the first time after a summer of remote working, or perhaps going back to a different schedule as you continue to work from home, this week, to me, feels like a transitional moment. And one of the things that I think is part of the wisdom in Mi Chamocha, this prayer of transition from narrowness into expansiveness, coming out of the Shema, is that both in that moment as our ancient mythic ancestors stood on the shores of the sea, and in this moment now, one of the things that made that singing possible was that they weren't doing it alone. They were witness to one another. They were witness to the miracle of the opening of the sea and the crossing on dry land. They were witness to the miracle that is safety on the other side from those who were pursuing them. And they were witness to the power of working together as a community to make that transition that could be so, so scary feel safe and wonderful. Because when we witness one another, we hold one another. And so we read together on page 71 below the line. In the handwritten scroll of the Torah, the word Shema of Shema Yisrael ends with an oversized ayin, and the word Echad ends with an oversized dalid. Taken together, these two letters spell aid, meaning witness. Whenever we recite the Shema, we bear witness to our awareness of God's presence. And I would expand that to also we bear witness to our awareness of God's presence within one another. Because as we began this section of the service, we each are B'Tselem Elohim, a little bit of the divine image. And when we witness one another, we take a moment and notice the holiness within one another's stories. And so as we sing Mi Chamocha tonight on page 77 and 79, we enter it with the kavanah of seeing one another, hearing one another, and helping to bear a little bit the load of those of us in our community who are moving through a transition this past week and into next week as we move from August into September and we move into out of the summer and into the fall together. Umalchuto beratzon kiblu alehem Moshe uMiriam uvnei Yisrael lechanu shira b'simcha rabah ve'ameru hulam. Page 79. Mi chamocha, mi chamocha, mi chamocha, mi chamocha, mi chamocha, mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi kamocha, mi kamocha, mi kamocha, mi kamocha, mi kamocha, mi kamocha nedar bakodesh nora tehilot osei fele nora tehilot osei fele malchutecha rauvanecha bokei hayam lifnei Moshe zeli anu ve'ameru Adonai yimloch leolam טוב וגלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גל ישראל. Page 81. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu malkeinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu malkeinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu malkeinu l'chaim. Baruch atah Adonai haporei sukat shalom aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'al Yerushalayim. Page 85. We rise in spirit or in body as we mark the Shabbat day. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti leolam, oti leolam, oti leolam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Ki sheishet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. U'bayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. And we remain in our standing position in spirit or in body as we turn to the silent Amidah. We'll read together on page 88 the second poem, the one by Rabbi Sheila Peltz Weinberg, and then turn to page 81 for our silent prayer this evening. And we remember that page 91 is only a suggestion. We can pray silently using the words of our tradition in Hebrew or in English, the commentary below the lines or all around, a favorite piece of poetry or reading from the back of the book, or perhaps the prayer that no one on any Siddur committee anywhere, no matter how wonderful, no matter how contemporary, no matter how poetic could ever know, because it's the prayer within our own hearts. So we'll start all together, and then we'll go on our own journey. Dear God, open the blocked passageways to you, the congealed places. Roll away the heavy stone from the well as your servant Jacob did when he beheld his beloved Rachel. Help us open the doors of trust that have been jammed with hurt and rejection. As you open the blossoms in spring, even as you open the heavens in storm, open us to feel your great, awesome, wonderful presence. Adonai sefatai tiftach, ufiyagi tehilatecha. Say shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imaru, amen. Shabbat shalom. Welcome back. We're going to continue with our prayer for healing and wholeness, our Mishaberach Lecholim. On Friday night, even though it's not a time when we read Torah, we take this time after taking a moment for our silent prayer, regathering through the doorway of our prayer for shalom, for peace, to turn to our wider community and our concentric circles of family and community, and notice the people in all of our lives, or maybe in each of our lives, who are in need of support. Refuat HaNefesh or Refuat HaGuf, healing of spirit and healing of body. And also to notice who among us appears on that list. It's not just a time when we turn our thoughts and our prayers to the divine, but also where we name. We use that sacred power of naming, of seeing, of acknowledging those in our many, many communities that we represent and come from and touch us, who need help and healing and wholeness. And so I want to invite you to take a moment to share in the chat the name of anyone you're thinking of tonight who could use a little healing or support. And I'm also going to read the list of names that I have in front of me. And together we will call to mind all of those and call to our hearts all of those who are in need of healing and wholeness. V'sheberach avoteinu mikor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. And this evening, we're thinking of and sending our healing energy and hopes to Roberta Archibald, Arden Bell, Carol Mueller-Bell, Ruth Belzer, Rabbi Deborah Bowen, Sarah Sarulnik, Bill Conrad, Robin Cupo, Francesca Dever, Eric Gershman, Jonathan Giannini, George and Gail Glansberg, Hal Goodman, Talia Gottesman, Amy Gross, Alberta Hall, Cordula Hamish, Chava Hurley, Michelle Kalish, Sharon Cass, Fran Kaufman, Elsie Lieberstein, Len McEwen, Robert Mueller, William Mueller, Anthony Nero, Lisa Nicholson, Stan Pollock, Abby Rosenberg, Mike Rosenberg, Shelley Sanders, Willie Schneer, Bertha Schwartz, Margaret Steiber, Ellen Stewerman, Lloyd Suter, Lynn Van Engel, Isabel Vita, Stan Wexstein, Millie Weissman, Grace Zangwill, Eileen Zeff, Gilbert Pelovitz, myself, Doug Proudman, Hal Goodman, Shelley Rosenberg, Kim Wilson, Ivy Snitzer, Brian Smithman, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Jacob Blake, Dorothy Berlin, Renato Salataro, Ellen and Marty Buchwald, and Daniel Shmuel. Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. And just as we gather and support one another in times when we are in need of healing and wholeness, so too do we gather to share in gladness and simcha, joyous moments. And so our Mishaberach Lecholim, our blessing for healing and wholeness, is followed by our Kiddush, our blessing, our sanctifying of the day of Shabbat through sanctifying the sweetness of the wine. Page 119, and we rise for Kiddush in body or in spirit. Savri Chavirai, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila lemikra kodesh, Zecher letziat mitzrayim, ki eleinu karata, ve'otanu kidashta, le'avodatecha, ve'shabbat kodshecha, be'ahava uvratzon, hinchaltanu, baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh HaShabbat. L'chaim. And we remain standing in spirit or in body for Aleinu on page 121. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'teit gedula leotzer breshit, shenatan lanu Torah emet v'chaye olam nata betochenu, va'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu, shehu notei shamayim v'yosef haaretz u'moshe. Kakatuv b'toratecha Adonai yimlach leolam va'ed, v'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu yihyeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad. We can be seated. And as we turn to page 131 for Mourner's Kaddish, we also turn in our hearts and in our memories to those whom we've loved and lost in recent days and weeks and months, and to those the anniversary of whose death falls on this Shabbat or this week in years past. And so I'm going to read the list of yortzites that we are marking here at Or Hadash according to the yortzite list that I have. And if you're here to say Kaddish for somebody else who is not on our list, or maybe who is, but you feel power and strength and memory by sharing their name, I invite you to do so in the chat at this point. This week at Or Hadash, we celebrate the yortzites and honor the lives and memories of Bernice Beal, father of Sandy Roden, Abraham Gross, father of Amy Gross, Stanley Kalish, father of Michelle Kalish, Anne Rosenberg, mother of Manny Rosenberg, Ben Shaw, grandfather of Joshua Jones, Mitch Klein, brother-in-law of Scott Crespi and Jackie Steinberg, Ernest Kane, father of Vivian Kane, Rachel Mayer, niece of Penny Levin, Goldie Schechter, aunt of Betty Kahn, and the 2 protesters who were murdered this week in Wisconsin. All of those who were laid to rest this week who succumbed to COVID-19, and all of those in the Caribbean and across the Deep South who died in the due to Hurricane Laura. And I want to invite mourners and those observing a Yortzeit to rise on page 131 for Mourners Kaddish, along with everyone whose tradition it is to rise for Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemeh Rabbah. Be'alma divrach rutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lalmei al-maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitalev v'yithalal shemeh tekudsha. Brichu. Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata. Tush b'chata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'el kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'el kol Yisrael. Ve'el kol yoshvei tevel v'imru. Amen. May the one who makes peace in the high places make peace for us, for all who dwell on earth, and for all who are in mourning. And let us say, Amen. You can be seated. Shabbat Shalom. What a blessing it is to gather with all of you here tonight. I have a couple of messages and announcements. The first is that Jules, who is here tonight, say hi, Jules, is going to be leading the second of 2. You do not have to have attended both. Creative writing, creative liturgy workshops tomorrow, Sunday. I believe that it begins, Jules, correct me if I'm wrong, at 2 p.m. And there's still space to join. I've just posted the registration link, so if you want to engage into some creative writing and learn a little bit about liturgy writing, they're going to be taking a stab at writing some 1 o'clock p.m. Sorry, thank you, Jules. They're going to be both taking a look at some liturgy of the high holidays and writing our own creative liturgy. So that's tomorrow at 1 p.m. The registration link is in the chat. Also, high holiday tickets. They are not tickets. We do not have tickets at Or Hadash. But this year, there is something we have to do other than just show up. Because this year, the high holidays will be wherever it is each of us gathers. High holidays will be at home this year. And so whether we are gathering on Zoom, whether we are gathering on YouTube Live, there is one step that people have to take. Next week, in the Hakesher newsletter and in a couple of extra ways in our outreach newsletter, if you don't receive our newsletter but you want to, you should email Nadine Cantor, our synagogue administrator, at office@orhadash.com. Because next week, our high holiday registration will go live. If you are a member of Or Hadash, all you need to do is fill out the quick registration through the Zoom link that'll get sent out next week. If you are a non-member of Or Hadash, or you are not yet a member of Or Hadash, you will do the exact same thing. Click on the link, register for high holidays, but Nadine will probably reach out to you and say, hi, welcome, it's so wonderful to meet you. Ask you a couple questions, let you guys know about the best way to access Or Hadash, although you guys are probably better at it than anybody else because you've been with us every Shabbat. And this year there will be 2 ways to, at the same time, access high holidays. Simultaneously, we will be having high holidays on Zoom with an interactive component. We'll be breaking into some breakout rooms. There will be moments where people are called to the Torah for aliyot. virtually from their own homes. There will be several people who have English readings or leading particular prayers. And also people will have the opportunity, especially those who have not volunteered for service honors, to watch via live stream just like we are now. So if you don't want to be on the Zoom, like you don't want to have your photo up, or you prefer to have the service running on your TV because it's much more relaxing and wonderful to watch the service and there's no reason to be on Zoom, then you're going to access High Holidays right here, the same way you are and the same way you do every Shabbat as you log into the live stream. There will not be a reason to register for High Holidays. But if you want to be on our synagogue mailing list and you are not yet, please email Nadine at the office at orhadash.com so that you can get all kinds of wonderful High Holiday information and details about how we are gathering throughout and at what times we are gathering throughout the High Holidays. If you are new to Zoom or this kind of streaming technologies, do not worry, you are not alone. Go to the Or Hadash website, click on the High Holiday link, and register for one of the 2 Zoom practice sessions and beginner workshops taught by our very own tech guru, Jeff Jarvis. They will be taking place on Thursday, September 3rd and Sunday, September 13th. The weeknight workshop will be in the evening, and the Sunday workshop will be during the day. Times and the registration link are in the High Holiday section of our website. There are also a number of other pieces of information about the High Holidays and all of the programming leading up to and subsequent to the High Holidays, including Simchat Torah. Why am I talking about Simchat Torah when it's still August? Because this year's Simchat Torah is going to be participatory in a very different way. Usually at Or Hadash, we gather in our sanctuary and we unroll the entire Torah in a giant circle around the room. And the adults in our community hold the Torah scroll and we're able to see from beginning to end, and the children go inside and are able to walk around and see the text. Obviously, this way is not social distancing friendly. So what are we going to do for Simchat Torah? We are going to chant our way from beginning to end of the Torah. Now, wait. Before you say, wait, Rabbi Alanna, you're going crazy. How could we possibly stay there all night long? We're going to do 1 verse per Torah portion from the very beginning of the book of Genesis all the way to the end of Deuteronomy, 1 verse from each Torah portion. And so if you want to volunteer, perhaps in honor of someone's birthday, in honor of a yortzeit that falls at a particular time of year, in honor of the anniversary of your or a friend's bat b'nai mitzvah, or perhaps because you've never chanted Torah before and this is a really cool opportunity to learn just 1 verse, contact Carolyn Savitsky. And if you forget that name, don't worry. Email Nadine at office@orhadash.com and say, hey, Rabbi Alanna mentioned someone that I was supposed to talk to about chanting Torah on Simchat Torah, and she'll steer you in the right direction. So sign up. We still have a few Torah portions left to go, and we are going to chant our way from Genesis all the way through to the end of Deuteronomy, and in between each book, we're going to have a little 1-song dance party. So if you have a song to recommend for our playlist, do get in touch with me. And there are so many wonderful things coming down the pike. We're also going to send out information about Slichot, which will be on Saturday night, September 12th. It's going to be at 8 p.m. It is not a night to be missed. It will be right here also on Zoom and YouTube, and it's going to focus on the theme of catharsis and release as we prepare to end this year that has just been so full and so much, and release as we're preparing to enter the next year. More information on that next week. And then check out our Hakesher newsletter and the website, orhadash.com, for all kinds of wonderful things going on in and around the synagogue. And the last message and announcement is, do not forget to send in your Smile School registration. It is Smile School registration season. We are going to be virtual this year. And because we are virtual, there will be 2 special things happening. One is that there are class meetups, outdoor meetups that will be happening mostly monthly, and that will involve experiential education, especially I believe involving the connection to between Judaism and nature and the agricultural cycle. And also for our older students, 4th grade and up, because we'll be online, there will be an opportunity for one-on-one Hebrew learning with the teacher rather than in a group setting. Some of the learning will be in a group setting, and also our Hebrew, rather than being by group, will have the opportunity to be one-on-one. And so a really special and wonderful opportunity for us this year as we're meeting digitally. So if you have not yet sent in your registration, or if you have a student who would be new to our program, please do head over to the Or Hadash website and register. This is the time of year when we're getting our head count together for Smile School. Okay, I think that those are all of my messages, and they weren't even longer than the service itself. Yes, my mother can make fun of me now for being long-winded, talking too much, and having my announcements go on for way too long. I'm sure I'll hear from you either in the chat or after the service. So we're going to close tonight with our psalm for the season, Achat Sha'alti, on page 832. Achat Sha'alti meit Adonai, Otav Akesh. Achat Sha'alti meit Adonai, Otav Akesh. Shivti beveit Adonai kol yemei chayai, lachazot benom Adonai, ulevaker bechalo. Lachazot benom Adonai, ulevaker bechalo. Shabbat Shalom. Have a wonderful evening. Shabbat Shalom from our home to your home. And we'll see you tomorrow morning for Torah study at 9. Shabbat service is at 10. Again, from our home to your home. Shabbat Shalom.